Hello, welcome to the Elite Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Jatkiss.
My name is Benjamin, as you all know by now. I'm sure you already know. Yeah.
And today we're going to be hosting the Honorable for Kasenjawat. We're going to leave room for him to introduce himself.
My introduction, I will not lengthen it. Basically, my name is David Sampa, and I'm the area councillor for Kasenjawat, which is a ward in Kafue constituency.
Maybe before we go any further, most of the people would like to know, when did the passion for politics come in? Like, was it because of background leadership? Do you have a background leadership thing, or it just came?
I would say it never clicked my mind before that I would be a politician. I think those that have known me for a very long time, I think will be surprised, or let me say, it was like a surprise for me to actually say that I'm actually getting into politics, because I've actually grown up to be a very quiet person, very quiet than most usual actually. Yeah, but I think passion came from just seeing, because mostly I've grown up in estates like a few, and there are things that we used to see as we are, I think, growing up, which collapsed at a certain time. So I think it was birthed on that, because when you approach the leaders that were there before with the ideas of trying to improve the status quo. So after much laboring, I would say, I just said to myself, I think it's time for me.
Okay,
yes, because almost everything else that I was trying to tell them was leading me to actually politics. So I said, I know if it's leading to that, then why not just join in the Sure.
So far, like, how has been the journey from the time you begin to the present period?
Well, it's been interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting journey. Of course, it's got the ups and downs, the good and the bad times. But I think all in all, I would just say it's been an interesting journey, full of lessons.
Since you are the councillor for Kansenjawat, most of the people, when we talk about Kansenjawat, they ask like, what's the demarcation? So would you like to tell people like, what's the demarcation for Kansenjawat?
Kasenje before was inclusive of Shikoswe and part of Greenfield.
Oh.
Yeah, and part of, because it was Shikoswe, Greenfield, and part of Kalunduview. But from 2021, I think it was the first time that the people of Shikoswe were electing their own council. Yes, but the more confusion part comes in, because most people think that C7 is also part of it.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yes. So basically, the demarcations of Kansenje are the streams that we have. So if you have noticed, when you are crossing over going to Shikose, there is a stream. Yes. So that's the demarcation between Shikose Ward and Kasenje Ward.
Oh.
Then also when you are crossing going to C7, there is a stream. So that's the demarcation between Kasenje and Shavusale. So when you go to C7, that's the Shavusale part. Yes. Then if you've noticed the stream that is along C7, it makes a corner as you are going to FRA. Yes, the old KTZ factory. Yes. So the same stream is a demarcation. So that road that people have been talking about, the one that has just been graded recently, that's part of Shavusale. Yes, so it's the stream that basically demarcates.
Congratulations on the recent approval for the CDF projects, which are valued over 21 million kwacha. That's a really huge move for Kafue, and I'm sure a lot of the locals will really benefit from those projects, and they'll definitely be helpful.
Yeah. So and a lot of people would also want to ask, because a lot of people, they just know that there's CDF, but they do not know how it works or how one can actually get to acquire or maybe
have
access to the resources. Yes.
I think first of all, I would love to appreciate the president of this nation, Mr. Akainde Ichile, who made sure that CDF increased, because recently, before it was at 1.6. Yeah, but the coming in of the new Dawn government made the move of CDF to be increased.
Yes.
Yes, now we are talking about 36 million
36,
kwacha. Having said that, I think CDF has worked enormously in Kafio, of which perhaps you may talk about it maybe as we are discussing. But coming back to your question, the process of CDF has 4 main components.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say 4, which comprises of the bursary component, which has the skills bursary, and then also the secondary school bursary. So when you talk about skills, you're talking about mainly short courses, skills like carpentry, bricklaying, welding, tailoring, something like that.
Yeah,
Yes, those, yes, whereby when you finish, even though you not found employment, you can employ yourself. Yes, so basically just those things that you're able to do and fend for yourself, at least you can make it something for yourself. Then the secondary school bursary, as you know, from grade 1 to grade 12, it's free education.
Yes.
But then there are those that are into boarding schools, so they are made to pay those fees, the ones that we call boarding fees.
Okay.
So those that are into boarding can apply for the secondary school bursary, which normally just caters that boarding fee, yes, charge.
Okay.
Then there is the empowerment part. So the empowerment part also has 2 components.
Okay.
There is the what we call the loan component, and we also have the grant component. Yes. Then we have the community projects. That's the one that you actually congratulating the people of Kafue that they have been given those projects. Yes. So basically, CDF is community based. So regarding all the things that I've talked about, it's about the community. So myself as counselor, there is no way I can just go and pick a project and push it to CDF. It's the community that must pick a project through the ward development committees. Yes. So the process itself is easy.
Okay.
Yes. When you want to go for the empowerment part, there are those processes of firstly open up a company, a cooperative, a club. Once you do that, you open a bank account in the name of the same company or maybe cooperative or whatever business entity that you've actually opened up. Yes, then there are business proposals. How are you going to use the money? So you need to explain that, which is supposed to be written. So once all those processes are done, the tax clearance certificates, everything that has to do with the company. So once you are done with that, the next process you just have to go to the WDCs, and they'll help you. Of course, I can write a recommendation letter. Or those that are in rural areas, if they can't find the councillor, they can obviously approach traditional leaders. Then we also can also be helped by church leaders as well. Yes, so either of them can obviously do a recommendation. Same applies with the skills bursary and the secondary school bursary as well.
Okay.
Yes, there is need for a recommendation, and of course an acceptance letter from the school where you want to go and do your skill. Yes, so maybe a letter coming from the school for those that are going into boarding schools, or maybe an acceptance letter that you've been accepted maybe in grade 8 or grade 10. Yes, the one that we are now calling Form 1.
Form 1, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about CDF, that reminds me, this new bridge that is connecting C7 to C5, was it also built under CDF, or it was just any other project? Why am I asking? It's because looking at the state that is the bridge into right now, it's really bad. So was there enough money that was allocated into it, or it was just little money and you had to make maybe other plans or resources, they were short.
I would need emphasis when you say the bridge is in bad state. What do you mean?
Because actually I usually pass there, right? Yes, it started making cracks. Yes, near the ridges, near where the ridge is, it's making cracks.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, no. I
We
understand.
have maybe pics we can show them on the screen, but yeah.
Okay. I actually understand what you're actually talking about. So,
Yes.
though I may assure you
Okay.
that the bridge itself, and this is, I think, something that has been clarified most times, because there was at one point where there was so much noise about the same.
About the bridge.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can state and assure the general public, inclusive of yourself, to say
Yes,
that
yes.
there was no point when the bridge had cracks. So I'll run you through what was approved. So what was, if you remember, part of the culverts were already there some time back, years past. Yes. But nothing was done because of the costs that were involved. Actually, those culverts were donated by, yes, Infracent company. But then to construct and complete the entire bridge, the costs were too much. So because of the coming in of CDF, it was pushed because it was a concern for the community. However, we called the community and asked, because if you remember the location where these culverts were,
Yes.
it's different from where we have actually constructed the bridge. So it wasn't our decision, because CDF is not based on who's in office, it's based on the community themselves.
Yes.
So we had to call the community and ask them, because myself, I had the knowledge to say that there's supposed to be a road there, which was supposed to be there from the conception of estates. But then when we called the community and asked them, where do you think the bridge could be? So there was even a vote. We put it to a vote twice. So the first time it was just the community of Kasenje Wat, but the people of C7 also complained, which is part of Shabusale. So we incorporated them in the second meeting, but still the majority voted that we push the bridge to Zamten. Yes. So when it was constructed, everything else was put in place.
Okay.
Those stones that you've seen were not part of the contract. So we told the contract, we actually pushed the contractor to do that. Yes. We pushed him, no wonder those things were done. But then, due to lack of certain technicalities, like at that time the compaction was not done because the project was not done. So then, no wonder you had to see those certain, like the sinking and the like. Actually, it was the soil that was sinking because of lack of compaction, because the project was not done. So the community thought the project is done, but the project was not done, because as you know, CDF now, because at first they would give the council money, but now what they are doing is that if they give you, they don't give you the entire location until you demand it. So that's how it is. So no wonder we had those delays in the completion, because initially that project was just supposed to take less than 6 months. But because of all these processes of submitting, asking for money, then you are given. So the contractor was supposed to do a certain stage, then ask for money. Reach at a certain stage, ask for money. So there's that process, because as you know, people, especially contractors, there was that story whereby they run away, they leave projects, they give them the whole money, they never do anything, and the projects remain. So government was losing money. So now you first have to request, then the money comes, then you do the part again, just like that, until the project is done. As we are talking, the project is at 100%.
It's at 100% done
Yes,
now.
100% done.
So I think the first thing was the period where it was still under
It
construction,
was still under construction.
there was need for those tapes they usually put around a site which is under construction,
Yes.
to notify the public to say it's not yet ready to be used by the public. But
In
then
fact,
there was
it wasn't supposed to be opened. I think cars usually pass there, so which means anything can happen at any time. So I think there was a need for the project maybe not to be opened there and then to say, okay, it's not yet done, so let's wait for it a bit. Maybe even those kind of things, maybe they could have been avoided or anything, because it had raised an alarm, as you know. Yes, it had raised an alarm to the people of Kafir to say it's not safe now there.
If it's 100% done, like, are we expecting the official date to say it's now open for use by the general public?
I'll answer both of your questions and queries. So the project itself has never been opened,
Okay.
even though the community was using it. So actually, that was one of the reasons why even there were those cracks, because people would pass through the vehicles, and so the ground will keep on compacting as the rains and all those things. But then the community continues to use it even though we've not opened. The hamster traffic. So the project itself was just to actually set those culverts. We had to put some loads of gravel. People would come in the night, spread the gravel and use it. So now we had to dig and make furrows. But even the same furrows, people are still using it. But however, we are seeing that this is a concern from the community to say that it's now a priority. They want that road more than ever. So maybe what we can ask for is just a bit of some time, because we only have one grade, unfortunately, which has to go through all these areas that I was talking about. Yes, so once we have a chance to have it nearby, then we can do the road, and then so that it can now be handed over to the community.
Okay. No, we really look forward to that, and in anticipation, hopefully it will be sooner than later, because people are really desperately looking forward to using that road.
Oh yes, now we'll try by all means to push so that the road can now be handed over.
We can just try to move on to the issue of the council issuing trading licenses to people selling beer or alcohol rather. I think it's a huge concern, especially for parents. I don't know if you have noticed, but there has been an increasing rise in the number of junkies in our community, and the people are now having access to beer, drugs, and like on a silver platter. Like everyone is selling beer anywhere. You find it's a both. It's written Airtel money, but you go there, you find the people selling beer there. So, like, are there any moves or rather plans on how the council is trying to mitigate this problem, because it's really been a huge problem for our community?
One thing that I can say is that it's a sorry thing that most businesses that are running now in Kafue are alcohol based, because we know that unemployment is quite high. So when people are frustrated, they tend to abuse these drugs that are on the market, the alcohol and the like. So it's quite a sad situation that we have. But one thing I can tell you is that the council has never issued a trading license to sell alcohol in a booth.
Okay.
So most of them that are selling beer in these makeshift stores, or maybe the booths as we know them, most of them are illegal. We have different categories anyway of the people that need to sell alcohol. However, in booths, there is no category where we can find that people are going to be given trading licenses. Yes, we know the many challenges that are there. But we need to make sure that alcohol is not abused.
So, but we're trying to find out if there is ever going to be a point where the council say, okay, we have had enough of these. We're not going to issue licenses for people selling, beer or alcohol rather in C7 market or C5 market, because as long as someone has money, they try to go and pay for the license. They're granted that license as long as they have what is required. But when you look at the availability, it's becoming like beer is now being one of the basic needs now. In fact, if not to say it's becoming more than a basic need.
Yes.
Is there a time or has the council ever thought to say, okay, Appa, we can say no at this point, or it's forever going to be like that?
Just to add on, does the council even maybe care when giving licenses to say, okay, maybe at this area there are too many liquor stores, let's not give another license here, or maybe rather they just give, as long as you come with money and then you want a license, they just give. They don't actually pay attention to where you're going to set it up or anything.
So when different people from the community come and want the support of the council to help them register their business so that they can be trading, it's not in the council's position to deny the people, unless the people write to the council and say we have had enough of this. Then the council can put up a bylaw to restrict.
So, you being a member of this community, do you think we have had enough?
I think we have a lot of, on an individual perspective, I think when I just analyze, I think we have too many of them.
Too many of them.
Too many of them.
Yeah.
So you're among the people who should
Yes.
write that
Yes.
request.
No. However, because I'm an elected councillor, I no longer represent my thoughts.
Okay. Okay.
I
get you now.
represent the thoughts of the community. Because if I want to do things that I want, I would injure a lot of people, because I have my own mind, I have my own thinking, I have my own philosophy, and yes, my own mindset.
Yeah.
But then, what the larger majority want, because we are in a democratic nation, so it's all about the majority. So whatever that the majority wants, that's what we do.
So now you're definitely just saying, if the people haven't said, there's nothing, your hands are tied.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yes, basically. So it's the voices of the community. So the more people talk about it,
That's when they.
yes, the more we can say, okay, I think we have had enough, and we will definitely do that. So amplify the voices. You are the media,
Yes.
so amplify the voices.
That's what we're doing.
Definitely put up a limit to that.
Okay. So you mentioned something that is very eye-catching. You mentioned about the lack of employment that we've been having. Is there anything that has been actually been put in place to help youth with this lack of employment, to just help them, to help keeping them busy and everything? Yeah.
And in line of that, in line of the unemployment aspect, I think there's an introduction of Money for Work project which has been running for some time now. So I would like to say that one is very commendable, and I think it's helpful, but in a short run.
Yeah.
So when we look at it on a on a longer period of time, like how are we going to be able to sustain the fewer-based youths? Because like you said, the rate of unemployment is really high, and of course the central government cannot do everything. So there are some suggestions. I would say maybe like council has more than unlimited access to land. So what of like just trying to set up a plant where some blocks and the like it's owned by the council. Then the council is employing the locals just to be making those mix and the like. It's not only providing employment to the local youths, but it's also profit making. So like how has been the aspect of assessing the unemployment rate for the youth? I know we can't do like much about it, but there's something something we can do about it.
I think the unfortunate part of this great nation which happened was when companies were sold, because the nation was used and still is. The mindset of us as Zambians is that government must employ us. However, privatization brought in something that we have not grasped yet as a nation. Because privatization said government has washed its hands in the control of this economy. Therefore, it's the people now themselves who must run companies. I know the process was not done quite well. No wonder it came as a shock to the entire nation. And even some of us that were not employed then, the effects of that crippled down to us as well, where we still think that government must employ the people. But however, we need to reach at a point whereby we create employment for ourselves. So we can get an example of Nigeria. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Why? Because they've learned so much, but then government cannot offer employment. So you have most of its citizens now becoming self-employed. We have more entrepreneurs in Nigeria, I think, more than any other nation in Africa. We have a lot of billionaires in Nigeria because they've realized that they are the owners of their own fate. So if you sit around and not do anything, then nothing will be done. So I think that's where we need to reach even as Zambia. Though I would need to mention that government has tried and to bring in a lot of incentives just to help the youths. Of course, in curfew we were used of the likes of NCZ employing, KTZ employing, the likes of Concrete, Bata, and several other companies that we can talk about. Most of them have just shut down,
Yes.
and they are no longer there. So that leaves us now with only ourselves to look after ourselves. So therefore, when you look, I'll give an example of CDF. You'll find that when you have been given, for example, a loan of 200,000, you brought your business proposal. What government is expecting is that you employ another person within curfew. So that money will continue to grow your business, and in the next few years, you should have more than what you had when you actually given that money. Then when you talk about skills, it's the youths. When you do, for example, I go and do carpentry, you go and do bricklaying, you go and do, for example, metal fabrication. What are we trying to come up with? It's a cooperative. So if 10 of us team up and say, let's come up with a construction cooperative or maybe club, then we pursue the CDF committee through the World Development Committee and say, we are youths whom you had empowered through skills. Now we've come and we want a grant. Tell me why you will not be given that grant. So even when you've been given that grant, you can now buy, because when you've just done that skill, you don't have the machinery. If I'm a carpenter, I would need machinery, I would need tools to use. Equally you. So when we get that grant and buy tools, of course within the community there will be people that want to obviously have maybe they are building a house or maybe a shop somewhere. We can go and supply them with our services. In Kansenje, there is a school hall that has been approved. Why, if we are youths from Kansenje, why can't we pursue them? We are youths whom you had empowered with skills and you gave us this. Now we've come and we want this particular process that we can do it. We have all the expertise that needs to be able to complete that school hall. We can push. And everyone else will support because they've seen that these youths are serious. So what we need to begin to understand, I think that's the conversation that needs to continue, is that let's see how we can help each other. It's not a one-man show.
No.
It's something that we need to hold.
My main question is actually to see if the council has that capacity or other capability to be able to be running those big projects and employing some. Of course, they can't employ everyone.
Definitely, government is there to support its citizens, its residents in terms of the council.
Okay.
when you talk about capacity of the council, of course, when you look at those projects under CDF, they are not done by the council. So when they are approved, government through the local authorities now will call in people that will be able to tender in. Yeah, so they'll be able to submit to say that we want to do this particular project and the like. So it still comes down to the community, like we have been discussing, to say that it now borders on its citizens, yeah, or maybe its residents in this case, to be able to pursue the council and say, us as a cooperative, us as a company, they're able to do this project. So, and of course, the council is there to support.
I think his point is, but can the council actually do something on their own and employ people?
Councils do employ.
So that was his.
Yes, yeah. But when it comes to projects, outside projects, because you know the mandate of the council. Yes, the council is supposed to make sure that the area, of course, is kept clean in terms of sanitation, hygiene. So the council is just there to manage the community. So in its managing the community, no wonder we have people from the health department that help in sanitation, looking after the markets, the bus stations, and the like. We have the committee which has to do with finance. They're the ones that come and give people invoices, and you go to pay to the council and things like that. So we have departments within the council where people are employed. Community development looks after the community in terms of sports and things like that. Yes, so of course council doesn't run without people. But then when you talk about projects, the council is not there. Of course the Department of Engineering, of course, does engineering works. That is the maintenance of roads, the grading of roads, putting up street lights and maintaining them, play parks, gardens, and things like that. So they are there to maintain. But then when you talk about projects like making of blocks, as you mentioned, for the purpose of income,
Yes.
maybe that will not be the part of the council. Yeah, so the council is just there to manage its council, its community, its town, or perhaps municipality.
So, from among the few undisclosed sources, we heard there were some beneficiaries of the CTF project for Kafiwe constituents, which were benefited from people from other outskirts of town. So, like, how transparent is the CDF projects, especially for these bursaries and credit certificates and the like? How transparent is it that it's benefiting the people of that particular constituency?
The CDF guidelines themselves do not allow for someone who does not live within the community to benefit. So no wonder it even states in the guidelines to say that for you to actually benefit, you should have lived within a particular constituency, in this case Kafiwe constituency, for a period not less than 6 months. So someone to benefit, they must have lived in Kafiwe for more than 6 months. So now, no wonder we have the ward development committees. They are the ones in charge of collecting those applications. So where we find problem, maybe if we have that particular case, though I've not heard of it, but it could be. So the people that were at fault perhaps could be the ward development committees, because they're the ones that are in charge. So when they receive a particular application, because that application has a residential address.
Yes.
So meaning that the applicant wrote a wrong, or maybe an address which is from Kafiwe. So it's either the people that live within Kafiwe had allowed that person, or the WDC did not verify that house number. So in it, there is the aspect of the community, and it's very open. Yes. So when it is submitted now to the secretariat, then they will actually just look at the address. Did the WDC because every application which is written, the ward development committee definitely recommends to say that this person can get that particular component. One of the easiest is when you are a WDC member. I apply, you know where I come from, so you will be able to recommend, Ujamga is Ankara batch.
Ankara
So you recommend this person live within a few years for more than 6 months. So before you recommend, that's their job. You need to make sure that this applicant is coming from within the community.
I just like to know what's the future for Kafue,
There are any projects that we can see from now on?
aside from those that were approved by
Yes.
under the 2025 CDF project, what's the overall future? Like, how do you see it from now in the? Of course, I think we would also want to know if you surely be standing in the forthcoming 2026 general election.
Very important.
Yeah, we'd also like to know that.
Okay. Right. The future of Kafue is bright. Yeah, if like-minded people who want Kafue to change team up. And one thing I can say is that with a president like Mr. Kainde Ichilem, Zambia is set to transform. Yeah, Kafue is set to transform. Because just imagine within 5 years, CGF was increased from 1.6 to 36.2. It can even reach to 56. Definitely, in the next few years, obviously, we should have even handled our debt situation. I'm sure we'll be much blessed as government to offer that development that people are crying. So I can only ask you that remember to vote for the president again, so that we continue to see the development.
The future.
Yes, because much of the things that have been, of course, the president is trying so that we can see Zambia is at a state where it's been controlled. It's like a vehicle has lost its direction, or maybe the one who was holding the seat maybe has fallen ill. So now they are not able to handle. So one person jumps and moves that person and begins now to control. It had already gone maybe outside. So he's trying now to realign it on the road. So that's what the president is doing. So now we are better placed. So I think past 2026, I think we'll see much more things being done. Yes, for and talking about 2026, I think it will be up to you people to say, okay, this is how you have driven Kansenja. So,
but to cut you short, but yourself, do you wish to stand again, or maybe do you wish to elevate the position that you are at and go for a higher one?
It will be based on what the people say. However, I have no intentions of ascending. I'm better placed to serve the people of Kansenja now.
Okay.
Yes, and that's my focus for now.
Okay.
And even to talk about 2026 for now is because I'm not done with the mandate that I've been given by the people. So first we need to complete what we had promised the people of Kansenja, what we said this is what we will do by the end of 2026. So now it will be up to the voices of the people to say that, okay, I think you've done much, or at least you've done according to the expectations. We still need you. Or it will also be up to me to say, I think if I feel like I can still go on to serving the people of Kansenja, I'll go on for another day. But if I feel there's nothing that is there for me to do, I'll hand over the books to one of you who wants to go over.
Okay, so we're almost done now. So we'd just like you to say a few last words to the people of Kafue, most especially people of Kansenja. Yes.
I think I would just love to appreciate the support that I've had from the people of Kansenja. I think that is the greatest that I could ever dream about. There is nothing more that I can ask from the people of Kansenja. The support they've given me is enormous, and it's a rare privilege to serve the people of Kansenja, and it's something that I will remember for the rest of my life. So I'll just have to say thank you so much. Continue support the leaders that you have. Let's unite together. Let's make sure that we change the face of curfew. It doesn't take an individual like myself who is in office to transform a particular community, that it takes all of us to be able to change a community. So let's make sure that whatever is of government, that is inclusive of government resources, government property, let's continue to protect it. Let's ensure, as you can remember, Kansenje, or let me say Estates, was one of the cleanest towns or maybe areas that we had in Zambia then, but then the status now is a bit sorry. So may we join together in making sure that waste collection is done, no waste disposal is done indiscriminately anywhere where we feel like. So let's make sure that we protect our environment, we make our environment clean, we support each other, and we advise each other. We work together as a team as we have been working. Otherwise, thank you so much from your team.
Sure.
It has been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure.
I hope this is not the first and the last time to be.
It's not.
Let's continue.
Sure.
Let's continue to actually communicate.
Yes.
And discuss and network.
Yes.
Next time will be in a very big studio.
Yes.
Where even the high officials and the president and the other delegates will be there. So continue. Also, you are a great entrepreneur. Yes, I would love to even just appreciate the work that you are doing. You are one of the youths that inspires. I'm inspired by your work. And everyone else. So thank you so much.
Truly humbled by those words.
All right, so we have been here, the Elite Podcast, and we've had our Honorable Councillor for Kasenja Ward, Mr. David Sampa. Yes, we've discussed a lot of things. Make sure you like our page, follow us for more, because we are still coming. This is just the beginning. So I have been your host, Benjamin Piri, joined by my other host,
Jatkiss here, and it has been a great time having the Honorable David Sampa for this podcast, and hopefully you have taken note of some of the keynotes that he has highlighted, and let's make sure we make use of these opportunities that have been granted to us by the Honorable President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and let's just try to embrace these rare opportunities. Let's get educated, let's get these skills, and it's curfew for us, so be sure you have access to these. And if you don't have information on how to access these, please visit the council. They are there to save us, have clear information on how you can have access to these resources. Being your host, this is Jatkiss, and thank you.
See you next time, same place, same time. Jatkiss Empire Pixels Media, next time.